My husband kept it a secret from me that he used to hook up with his best friend multiple times in the past. Now I'm begging him to cut contact, but he's refusing and calling me crazy. Posted by you/prettystrength163. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I need a fresh perspective before taking the next step. I discovered that my husband, 37M, and his best friend, 36F, had a sexual relationship that lasted throughout their high school years and multiple relationships. Apparently, it was a known secret in their circle of friends. Let me start from the beginning. I met my husband during the last year of college. He comes from a very small town and has had the same group of friends since elementary school. I used to find it endearing, but now, I feel sick. His best friend used to be his deskmate in kindergarten. He used to talk about her a lot before I met her, mostly fun anecdotes and childhood memories. Honestly, I was a bit jealous at the beginning. He had all these memories and shared friends with her. He even had a special nickname for her, Pokey. I let go of my worries when I met her. Pokey was not like the horrible female best friend in the movies. She was always supportive and sweet. She's a cake designer, and she gifted us our wedding cake and made a beautiful speech. Still, there was a part of me that always felt a bit uneasy. My husband and I never really talked about past relationships, mostly because I didn't want to focus on the past, but in general, from what he let slip, he was a bit of a jerk as a teenager. In particular, his friends sometimes talk about how it's incredible their group survived the summer of madness. I always assumed that some kind of high school drama happened and that was it, until I discovered what it was really about. I was out with one of my husband's friends' wives, Gertrude. Gertrude told me that she admired me for being so secure in my marriage even with the one that got away in the picture. I was confused. I told her that I didn't understand what she was talking about, and then she said, "Oh, I thought you knew about Pokey and Maurice, my husband." I think I died a little hearing that. She proceeded to tell me how they basically hooked up throughout their high school years. How Pokey was my husband's first everything and how they cheated on every single boyfriend and girlfriend they had during that period with each other. The famous summer of madness was the last summer of high school. Apparently, the whole group was fighting because some were done with their behavior while others kept covering for them. What's worse is that it all ended because Pokey put a stop to it. She chose a college kilometers away from their hometown and stopped talking to my husband for a whole year. After the revelation, I confronted Pokey. I shouldn't have, but I was so angry and humiliated. I don't want her near me or my husband. I keep thinking about how they shared everything, about how not even our intimacy is truly ours. It drives me insane. She obviously told my husband, and we've been fighting since then. He keeps telling me over and over that there's nothing between him and Pokey. In his opinion, I'm overreacting to something that happened almost 20 years ago and has been closed and dead. But I feel like I can never trust the two of them together. Am I wrong? Relevant comments. Commenter. What happened when you confronted Pokey? Why didn't you confront your husband first? Whose idea was the wedding speech? Ops response. She was surprised but calm, which made me even more mad. She told me she thought my husband had told me about it and that it was not her place to talk about it. Then she told me to talk to my husband, but that unless he told her to stay low contact, she would not do anything. She was his best man, so yeah. Commenter 2. How long into the relationship did you meet Pokey? Was that a sexual nickname? Ops response. No, it's something from their childhood. Only Maurice and her father call her that. I met her after a couple of months with the other friends. Commenter 3. Did Maurice and Pokey date in the past? Ops response. They never dated, according to Gertrude, but also, my husband was pretty toxic in the whole situation. All I hear from him are excuses, some are even valid, but I feel like it just makes the situation worse. He calls me honey most of the time. I used to think the whole Pokey thing was cute and wholesome. Now I feel a bit foolish. Commenter 4. How did your husband react to your request to cut contact/go low contact with Pokey? How do they interact with each other when they're out with friends? Ops response. Maurice told me not to make him choose, that he barely remembers a time when he didn't have her in his life. That it should not come to this. The thing is, their group of friends is very, very close. I was not used to that. Pokey works at a bakery and everyone, Maurice too, goes there for breakfast and lunch breaks. They have game nights, movie nights, brunches, and dinners, so they see each other a lot. Pokey lives down the road and she and Maurice take the dogs out every evening. Commenter 5. Is Pokey currently married? Does she have any kids? Do you and your husband have any kids? Ops response. She and her ex divorced a couple of years ago. She wanted children, he didn't. It wasn't pretty. Apparently, her ex knew. She's not dating at the moment, but she briefly dated a guy in the past. No, Maurice and I are child-free. Op adds an edit to her post. Okay, so a lot of people are asking me why I got angry at Pokey and not my husband. First, I am angry at Maurice. I can barely stand to be in the same room as him. Second, I feel childish, but am jealous of her. I didn't grow up like Maurice. I barely remember the people I went to middle school with. To me, friends are something different. He had this girl who knew every single thing about him, who shared adventures, Christmases, birthdays, family, and friends. It was a lot. I knew she was important to him, so I tried my best. I thought that at least I had his love first. Turns out she had that too. I was mad. Was it right? No, but in that moment, she was the focus of my rage. It drives me insane. Why can't he just say that he was in love with her? It's plain as day that she was his first love. But no, I don't get it and am delusional, they were kids and confused, etc. Screw that, what's confusing about ditching your friends and your girlfriend for a summer just to hook up with your best friend? Gertrude told me about the castle of lies he spun around that poor girl. I feel sick thinking about it. Update 2 days later. Hi guys, first of all, thank you for all the responses, messages, and support I've received. Currently, I feel like I don't really have friends I can trust, but at least I can get some validation from you. There's a link to the previous post if you need it. So, I have a small update, and things don't look good. I had a pretty big fight with my husband last night. He went to his usual Friday game night. Some of you asked me about that. He and his friends have 2 types of game nights. One is normally on Friday, as most of them don't work during the weekend. It's a group thing, and they play some kind of D&D. It's usually hosted by Andrew, 37M, who is the master of the campaign. Then, there are sporadic game nights where some of them play video games and chat. In that case, the number of people varies. As I said, last night Maurice went to play D&D. I asked if Pokey would be there. He was annoyed and told me yes. I asked if he had seen her these days. He told me that he went to get coffee with some of the guys and that on Thursday, he went to grab lunch. I was pissed, so I raised my voice and asked why he couldn't stay away from her, at least for now. He told me, and I quote, "I can, but I'm not going to cater to your tantrum." I didn't do anything, so I'm not going to act like I'm guilty of something. I reiterated that I don't want her in our life now that I know, and he asked me what I wanted him to do. It's a small town, and we are neighbors. All of my friends are her friends. Unless we move, we're going to have contact. So I told him that maybe we should move. Maybe we should start over in a place where I can trust people. He told me I'm insane, that he's not going to sell his grandma's house, one he loves, and move somewhere away from his family and friends just because I feel insecure, and that I need to grow the F up. I stormed into our room, and he went to his friends. When he came back, he started gaming on the PS instead of coming to bed. I could hear him talking, so I went to the living room. I asked him who he was playing with. I kid you not, he was playing COD and chatting with Pokey and Andrew. He had just been with her a couple of hours before. I asked him to come to bed. He told me he had to finish the game and that he needed to vent his frustration. I'm not proud of myself, but I raised my voice again and said something like, "Can you even breathe without seeing her for 10 minutes?" He didn't even look at me. He just said, "If you're gonna make a scene, tell me now so I can turn off the mic." I slept in the guest room. This morning, Joachim, the friend who works in my office, came and talked to me. Apparently, Maurice told them everything on Friday. He was venting. He told me that Gertrude thrives on drama and that's why she opened that can of worms. He assured me that there's nothing between Pokey and Maurice and that this situation will become an issue only if I make it one. I asked him what he meant, and he told me, "You married him, you know how he is. Maurice is emotionally dependent on Pokey or whatever. If she killed someone, he would dig a hole and help her hide the body. If you want this marriage to work, just learn to coexist." I asked him if he thinks Maurice still loves Pokey. He told me that maybe I should ask my husband because he doesn't know. At this point, I just can't let this go. I feel like a crazy, paranoid woman, but I just can't let this go. I asked Gertrude out for lunch on Wednesday. I begged her to tell me everything she knows because I need to know. Still, I'm scared of what I'll learn. Second update 10 days later. Hello, everyone, thank you for the messages and the chats many of you sent me. Thank you for checking on me. I'm sorry I didn't reply sooner and for updating so late, but I needed time to think and sort myself out. Some of you pointed out how I was spiraling and acting kind of crazy. You were right, I was. It was hard to admit that I was doing as much damage as Maurice in the situation, and it was even harder to realize that maybe our marriage has more issues than I thought. I'll start by saying that I never went to that lunch. After our fight that Friday night, my husband spent Saturday at his mother's house. She lives 30 minutes from us with her new husband. He stayed there the whole day, and I discovered from his Instagram story that he took his two step siblings to a laser game and then to dinner. He also took them to Poke Bakery for dessert. I was livid but resigned at this point. He had clearly said that he didn't care about my discomfort, so it's not like I was expecting much. I ignored him when he came back later that evening. I just didn't want to fight again. He came to me and said we should talk. When I didn't respond, he told me that he was sorry for being a jerk the day before, that he had started to sound like his father and hated it, and that the last thing he wanted was for our marriage to be like his parents. I told him that he dismissed my feelings and that by still going to Poke, he continued to do so, making me feel completely disrespected. I tried to explain as calmly as I could how hurt I was to know, 1, about their past from someone else, and 2, that everyone around me knew and never told me anything until now. I explained that I felt like a stranger because our friends suddenly reminded me that they were his friends with their behavior and that I felt like I couldn't trust anyone around me because no one had told me the truth. Then I asked him point blank if he still loved Poke and why he kept everything a secret. And that's when he told me the truth. And oh boy, was I not ready. Maurice basically confessed that he had loved Poke like crazy, like let's elope even if we're 16 and stupid level of crazy, but his parents were divorcing at the time, and it was incredibly ugly and violent. So his teenage mind decided that love was dangerous, that having a relationship meant losing the people you love. Ergo, never have a relationship with someone important to you. In his case, Poke. He admitted that it was stupid but said, I was not exactly the smartest kid. He couldn't stay away, but he also couldn't bear to lose her if an eventual relationship imploded, so they stayed in this limbo until the summer of madness. Poke was already pretty tired of the situation, but then she discovered that she was pregnant. It was Maurice's because, at the time, she was single, and as stupid teenagers, they weren't using protection. I was already shocked as it was, but hearing my child-free husband say that he had wanted that baby the moment Poke showed up in his room with a positive pregnancy test left me speechless. So I asked what happened. And he told me that 2 weeks after finding out, she lost the baby. They were still trying to figure out how to tell their families when it happened. She got appendicitis and somehow, it caused inflammation in her tubes, leading to the pregnancy loss. He told me that his worst memory is calling Poke's mom and his mom from the hospital while hearing Poke's cries from behind the door of her room. Maurice also told me that that was pretty much the moment he became child-free. He said, I never want to hear someone I love cry like that ever again. Also, because of that pregnancy loss, it has become impossible for Poke to have children without planning and medical help. That's why her divorce was so brutal. Most of their friends don't know, they still think she just had appendicitis. Maurice told me that after what happened, she ran off to university, avoiding him and pretty much the whole town for a year. He told me how confused and lonely he felt and how much he missed her, not the girl he loved but his best friend, the one who knew me better than myself, and that I could always count on. So when she reached out after Maurice's grandma died, he pretty much promised her that they would never put themselves in a situation like that again. That they would be just friends and nothing more. And that's what they have been. He told me that he'll always love her, but whatever they had is done. He married me, he loves me, and that's what should matter. When I asked him if he was willing to see Poke less and have a different kind of friendship for my sake, he told me that while he loves me, he values his friends enough not to cut them off. He told me that after 13 years together, I should know this about him. So I told him that after 13 years, I should matter enough. I packed a bag and told him I was going to visit my parents because I needed time. And that's where we are. I took some time off work, and I'm still at my parents' house. It was a lot, and I still don't know how to feel. I'm mostly empty. Relevant comments. Commenter. You know what, maybe it's fine that I'm still single. May this kind of love never find me.